This video is brought to you by catbeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
The NBA can sometimes be a stressful place for some players, especially when they are dealing with problems both on and off the court. Some players are infamous for a life of debt, crime, bad health, and other negative things after or during a career in the NBA. Although the NBA is slightly better than other leagues such as the NFL in regards to problems such as this, there are still players who were so good at one point that eventually just fell off and hit rock bottom. And for some players, it happens faster than others. Today we take a look at 7 NBA players whose careers took a turn for the worse. Welcome to NBA Insider. Steve Francis was originally a great all-around player for the Houston Rockets, but problems came into play when the team decided to hire Jeff Van Gundy as their coach back in 2003. Jeff Van Gundy and Steve Francis did not have a good relationship, and the way Van Gundy coached the Rockets caused Steve's points per game to decrease from 21 to 17 and his rebounds from 6 to 5. Because of his troubles with Van Gundy, the Rockets decided to trade Francis to the Orlando Magic. In his first year there, Francis was playing like his best years with the Houston Rockets. At first, the Magic looked like a playoff team in the first half of the season, but when Orlando traded Steve's good friend Cuttino Mobley to the Sacramento Kings, Steve Francis became upset. Steve's unhappiness helped to cause the Magic to crash and miss the playoffs. The next season, Francis was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, which raised trade rumors for Francis, and before the trade deadline, Francis was traded to the New York Knicks. On the Knicks, Francis had a few good games but battled serious injury problems. Francis was then traded again to the Portland Trail Blazers and his contract was bought out. Eventually, he tried signing with Houston the following season, but he didn't make it out of the preseason because of injuries, and that was the end of his NBA career. In 2010, the one-time basketball standout and number 2 NBA draft pick signed in China but only averaged 0.5 points and 0.7 rebounds in 13 games. For a man who was nicknamed Franchise for his ability to turn a team into a winning organization, to end up on this list is really disappointing. In his 1 year in the NBA, Jay Williams averaged almost 10 points and 5 assists on 40% shooting. Despite this, Williams was picked second overall by the Chicago Bulls in the 2002 NBA draft for his potential and promise. Williams was a starter in the Bulls lineup for most of the 2002-2003 NBA season. Although his performance was inconsistent and he competed for playing time with Jamal Crawford, he showed signs of improvement, including a triple-double in a win over the New Jersey Nets. However, on the night of June 19, 2003, right after coming back from a lecture about safety at Duke University, Williams got into a crash with his motorcycle. It's pretty ironic considering Williams was not wearing a helmet, was not licensed to ride a motorcycle in Illinois, and was also violating the terms of his Bulls contract by riding a motorcycle. Williams' injuries included a severed main nerve in his leg, fractured pelvis, and 3 dislocated ligaments in his left knee, including the ACL. He required physical therapy to regain the use of his leg. A week after the motorcycle crash, the Bulls drafted point guard Kirk Hinrich. When it became clear Williams would not be returning to the Bulls for a long time because of his injuries, he was waived. The Bulls legally did not have to pay him any salary because his injuries happened while he was violating his contract by riding a motorcycle. Instead, the Bulls gave Williams $3 million when they waived him, which Williams could use toward future rehabilitation expenses. Williams stated at the time that he would continue to train and make a return to the Bulls. However, he started building an addiction to illegal painkillers. In the end, he appeared in college and high school basketball broadcasts on ESPN as a commentator. Antoine Walker was once a great player for the Kentucky Wildcats. Before the age of 20, he had helped them to win the NCAA basketball championship. He was then selected by the Boston Celtics as a top pick in the 1996 NBA draft, where he quickly became a basketball star. As a dynamic duo, both Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce carried the Celtics to the playoffs during their time together. At the time, Walker was a 3-time All-Star in Boston. Then in 2006, Walker was the 3rd leading scorer and one of the best 3-point shooters for the champion Miami Heat team. But after that, his performance steadily declined until he was waived by the Memphis Grizzlies in 2008. Walker then played in the BSN League in 2010 for 2 months, then in the D League for 2 years before retiring. After earning $108 million with his skills in the former NBA, Antoine Walker thought his financial future would be worry-free. That was until he went bankrupt in a matter of years. The former Boston Celtics player filed for bankruptcy in 2010, which took until 2013 to make him debt-free. In 2012, Walker was charged with 3 felonies of writing bad checks, which he pled guilty to one of them and was put on probation. Shawn Kemp was one of the best players in the 90s, but things went south for him pretty quick. After leading the Seattle Supersonics to the NBA Finals and putting up up a fair fight against the 72-win Chicago Bulls. Kemp's problems began when he refused to play for Seattle when they wouldn't give him a contract equal with players similar to his playing level. He was mainly upset because this was agreed upon in his contract before the salary spike in the mid-90s. When he got traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, he put up numbers that were almost as good as the ones in Seattle, but he was out of shape. The official roster listed him at 275 pounds, but according to the Cavaliers manager at the time, Wayne Embry, Kemp was actually at 315 pounds. After being traded to the Portland Trailblazers a few years later, he battled cocaine and alcohol addiction as well as problems from his weight, which led to him being waived. In his 1 year with the Orlando Magic in the 2002-2003 season, he was clean, but at the end of the season he was replaced by Juwan Howard. After that, Kemp made comeback attempts with the Mavericks and Bulls, but he was never able to make the teams. He then tried playing internationally for an Italian team, which he was not able to make either. Off the court, he was the father of 15 children, and he was arrested in 2006 for possession of 60 grams of marijuana, cocaine, and a semi-automatic pistol. Michael Beasley played college basketball for Kansas State University for 1 year before declaring for the NBA draft in 2008. In 2008, Beasley was considered an equal NBA draft prospect with Derrick Rose, but since then he has been anything but that. Beasley started his basketball career as the #1 prospect in the 2007 high school class over Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Love, to name a few. Then at Kansas State, he averaged 26 points and 12 rebounds per game, which were 3rd and 1st in the country. After being picked #2 overall by the Miami Heat in the 2008 draft, Beasley averaged a solid 14 points and 6 rebounds in his second year, but those numbers declined to 10 points and 6 rebounds in the playoffs. In his 2 seasons in Miami, Michael Beasley had been fined multiple times and was caught using marijuana on multiple occasions. When he was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, the 2010-2011 season was his best, where he posted averages of 19.2 points and 5.6 rebounds. As a matter of fact, he finished top 20 in the league in scoring average, but that season was followed by him averaging 12 points per game and getting pulled over for speeding and possession of marijuana, which led to him being waived. After signing a 3-year $18 million deal with the Suns in the summer of 2012, he proceeded to be bad on both ends of the floor for a Suns team that was one of the worst in the NBA. The same thing also happened with the marijuana incident, as he was once again found with it in his car. So on September 3rd, 2013, Beasley was waived by the Suns. On September 11th, 2013, Beasley signed with the Miami Heat. The Heat made it to the NBA Finals for the 4th straight time in 2014, with Beasley making his first finals appearance in Game 5 of their series against the San Antonio Spurs. After this, Beasley would be traded back and forth amongst different teams while playing in China in between. On March 4th, 2016, Beasley signed with the Houston Rockets and would be traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, where he currently plays. Although Beasley is still in the league and he hasn't had any problems since, it still sucks to see someone so talented fall victim to temptation and not be able to reach his full potential. Gilbert Arenas started off his career as a role model. He was someone who came into the league as a second-round pick and who worked hard to find success. He was also the most improved player in his sophomore year and a 3-time All-Star, but once he got injured, it all went downhill. Arenas only played 8 games in the 2007-2008 season, and he stormed out of his team's locker room when his doctor did not give him permission to play before a game. In the playoffs, he only played 3 games before sitting the rest of the games due to his injuries. His injuries during that season prevented him from playing until March 28th of the next season. The Wizards only finished 19 of 63, missing the playoffs for the first time since they acquired Arenas. In the next season, his play was inconsistent, and midway through the season, Arenas stored unloaded guns in the Wizards locker room during an argument about a gambling debt. An investigation went underway and Arenas was charged with having an unlicensed firearm. Arenas was suspended for the rest of the season and received 2 years of probation and 30 days in a halfway house. The next season, Arenas changed his number in trying to put the issue behind him and lead the Wizards in scoring, but was traded to the Magic and became their backup point guard. The Magic waived him after the season. The Memphis Grizzlies signed him to be their backup point guard for the lockout 2011-2012 season, and after their first round loss in the playoffs, Arenas was done with the NBA. In the 2012-2013 season, Arenas had a good year in Shanghai, but the team only finished 10 for 22. Fast forward to 2017, and Arenas has already received the last paycheck from his horrible contract with the Washington Wizards. With his money not being spent wisely, and seeing as the league does not owe him any more money, Arenas is now claiming that he does not even have enough money to keep his kids in school. It's crazy to see how fast life comes at you. Speaking of Gilbert Arenas, Javaris Crittenton was the other player involved in the Wizards locker room gun incident. Javaris was once thought of as a great leader as well. He had come out of the projects to play with Dwight Howard in the state championship game in Atlanta. He also had a 3.5 GPA and was a member of the Senior Beta Club as well as the Future Business Leaders of America. At Georgia Tech, he was given a leadership role a few games into his freshman year and excelled as a leader. Once he was in the NBA, he was a role player who played well in the summer league, but he was traded twice. After being on the Wizards for 55 games in which he started 10 times, the gun incident occurred. Javaris was given a year of probation on a misdemeanor gun possession charge to which he pleaded guilty. He was also suspended and eventually released by the Wizards. In 2010, he signed to play in China and averaged 26 points per game there, but returned to the US after a few weeks. In 2011, Javaris played for the Dakota Wizards of the D-League, where he played 21 games with them and had 5 starts. The summer after the season there, he was charged for the murder of Julian Jones. In 2013, he was indicted facing charges including murder, felony murder, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, giving false statements, attempted murder, and participation in criminal street gang activity. While he was out on a $230,000 bond for the murder charges, he decided to join a gang famously known as the Crips. Not the best decision for an ex-NBA player. Need I say more? And that concludes the video. As always, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. If I made any mistakes or missed anything that you felt should have been included, please let me know. Also, if you have any recommendations for future videos such as interesting stories or topics like this, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching NBA Insider.